The whole flavor profile depends on the bitterness of dark chocolate and the sweet tartness of the raspberry.
2-layer dark chocolate mirror glaze raspberry coulis. Is it worth
$750?
Let's find out.
Last night, my wife had a watch party for Season 3, Episode 5 of This Summer I Turned Pretty. I immediately get a text that says it is the perfect time to make a 2-tier mirror glazed dark chocolate 70% cacao with raspberry coulis cake. She got home, gave me a 30 or 40 minute rundown of the episode, and of course I agreed. I had to make this cake. So I woke up this morning, immediately went to go buy all of these ingredients, and got started.
Oh no. There's no 70. 66? Or 72. Alright, Jeremiah, you're getting extra cacao. Lest we forget, Dutch processed cocoa. Good stuff. Racking up quick, no wonder it's $750. Wait, what? They just sell rennet tablets in the store now? It's only like half the ingredients and it was $32.
The next stop was Aldi, and I was really hoping for some 70% cacao. This looks like a guy on a dating app posing with his fish.
We're like $50 for this cake, not counting the ingredients I already had.
Let's get baking. Also, I'm trying out this new 3D printed camera mount because I needed to film short form and long form videos at the same time. So let me know what you think about it in the comments. I kind of like it. It's kind of like having Subway Surfers gameplay in the corner, except it's also me. Okay, fine, I'll narrate the recipe. We're just preparing the baking dishes.
What, are you saying you don't have a sink, Tahine?
As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, we are preparing these cake pans for baking to make sure that nothing sticks in here. So we're buttering the tins, and now I'm folding a piece of parchment paper in half a bunch of times so it makes this cone shape. Then we line the tip of the cone up with the middle of the pan, cut it at the edge of the pan, and we get this perfect circle which slots right in. The cake recipe I'm using is by Adriana over at Sugarology. I got this recipe from her Cakulator, which I will link to in the description. I'm using her chocolate indulgence cake with a chocolate American dreamy buttercream. I also strongly recommend her brownie recipe. They're probably the best brownies I've ever made. They're definitely the best brownies I've ever made. While measuring out my cocoa powder, I realized I didn't have enough for the cake and the frosting and the mirror glaze, so I decided to do something really, really sad. I'm cutting my Dutch processed cocoa with regular, bog standard cocoa powder.
I was using this other brand of Dutch processed cocoa from Costco. It was a huge bag for like $20. Finally ran out, and Costco stopped stocking it.
I'm not gonna give any measurements in this video because it's not my recipe. You should go to the Cakulator if you want it. However, I will show the method, and what we're doing here is boiling water and pouring it over the cocoa powder to hydrate it.
Woo! That smells incredible. Wow.
Then we'll add our brown sugar. We're gonna add a little bit of salt. Always add salt to your sweet baked goods. Makes it so much better. There's no butter in the layers for this cake actually. It's all oil. And we're just gonna use avocado oil since that's what I have in my pantry. But I think any neutral oil would work. You know, canola, sunflower, engine. When I think about engine oil, I think about the 2006 masterpiece, Cars. And in fact, once we mix all of this together, it kind of looks like the dirt that Lightning McQueen races on in Radiator Springs. I should probably stop recording voiceover at 2:30 in the morning. Okay, fine, I went to bed. It's the next morning. You can see I'm weighing my flour by weight. That is important in any baking. If you're a baker, you already know this. If you're not a baker, listen up. Flour is easily compressible. So if you try to measure it volumetrically, you could have vastly different quantities of flour in the same cup size. You could pack it in and have like twice as much flour as you would if someone was just spooning it in. Measuring by weight, super important. It's finally time to add our hydrated cocoa powder. Then we'll add a couple egg yolks, some more eggs, and then just mix this by hand. The cake layers are not a recipe that you need a stand mixer for. It's just like a muffin batter. I really appreciate that about this one. Then we'll sift in our dry ingredients.
I'm not left-handed.
This is everything for the cake batter, and we need to mix this very lightly. It's even okay if there's still clumps in the end. Because if you overmix cake batter, you get a really dense, gummy final product. Not what we want. We want this light, airy, velvety, rich, not dense. As you can see, there's still a few lumps in this batter after I finish mixing, but as long as they're small enough, that's okay, and they should hydrate as the cake bakes. Batter goes into the prepared pans, and then we're gonna bake that at 350 F or around 176 C for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until it reads on a digital thermometer 205 F or about 96 C. I love thermometers. Just that extra level of accuracy, just like weighing your ingredients, really helps make this perfect. While the cakes are baking, let's work on our coulis. I had never heard of a coulis before this, but it's very simple. A little bit of lemon zest, raspberries, I'm using frozen, and lemon juice, and sugar. We'll let that simmer for a while on the stove to let it reduce, then strain it into whatever vessel you want. I'm using a squeeze bottle because I love these things, but like I said, use whatever. If I were to make this again, I would probably reduce it a little more, make it a thicker sauce, but I'm still super happy with how it turned out, even though it splashed on my shirt.
The chest mount is not comfortable. My wife gave me the idea for this video, and I knew that I had to do it, but that meant that I had to go as soon as possible, very quickly to the store, grab everything. I didn't have time to clean this kitchen. I'm gonna do that. I'll be back.
The cakes are out of the oven. They look beautiful. We're gonna wait about 10 minutes for them to cool in the pan. Then we'll turn them out and wrap them up in some plastic wrap or parchment paper, whatever you want. Just something to seal the moisture in.
We have cake, we have coulis. We need frosting, and we need the mirror glaze. But we can't do either of those things until the cake is completely cool.
Had I read the recipe closer, I would have noticed that the mirror glaze needs to cool for 2 hours before you can use it. I should have started that while the cakes were baking.
Let's make some frosting.
Y'all know the drill. We have more cocoa powder, which means we have to pour more boiling water on top of it. Then, while this rehydrates, let's melt our chocolate bars. All chopped up.
I'm gonna put this in the microwave at 50% power for about 30 seconds at a time until this is like 80% melted. Then I'll just stir until it's the rest of the way melted.
We'll whip our butter for at least 3 minutes until it's really nice and fluffy. Then we can add our melted chocolate bars and our hydrated cocoa paste. It must be using cocoa butter, it's real moisturized. Next, I ended up using a lot more powdered sugar than what the recipe called for because this cocoa is so dark. Jeremiah in the show might like dark chocolate, but this is a little much for me. Can't forget the salt. Then we'll whip this on high for another minute and use the paddle attachment on low for 3 minutes to smooth everything out, get rid of the big air bubbles. Only the mirror glaze left, let's keep rolling. We're gonna hydrate some gelatin called blooming, then we're gonna make our final cocoa paste, not boiling water this time. Add our sugar, add a splash of heavy cream to loosen things up, mix it up, add the rest of the heavy cream, and mix until it's nice and glossy. Then remember to turn on your second camera so you can sync them together. Put it over medium heat, and as soon as it comes to a boil, take it off the heat and add the lump of gelatin.
Yum.
Mix until the gelatin's dissolved and it looks so luscious. But be careful not to incorporate any bubbles in here. Allegedly, bubbles are the enemy of a mirror glaze. And here I thought it was Belly and Conrad. We'll strain out any lumps, then we have to let this cool for about 2 hours. And because I made this after my cake layers were already cool, I ended up having to wait 3 hours before I could assemble the cake. Speaking of, I trimmed my cake layers to make them flat, and I got a coveted chef snack.
Whoa, that's really sticky. Let's give it a taste. Ooh, decadent. The Dutch processed cocoa is making it taste like Oreo, which I like.
And then I spent 20 minutes frosting this because I wanted it to be perfect. Now in the show, of course, Jeremiah wanted a 2-tier cake, but that was simply too much cake for me and my wife, so I opted for 1 tier with 2 layers. Hopefully Jeremiah would forgive me.
I need to wash my hands before I can put this in the fridge. But that's where this is going.
After an hour in the fridge, the exterior had firmed up enough for me to smooth it out and get the edges nice and sharp. After 7 hours of baking, I finally got to do the most satisfying thing I will do all week. The mirror glaze.
That's like as reflective as my glass table. Nearly.
Now, the $1 million question. Is this cake worth $750? It took me 8 hours including shopping to make this cake, and I spent $50.35 plus pantry ingredients. Let's estimate, I don't know, another $10, and it's gonna feed about 16 people. This comes down to $3.75 per slice. I spent 8 hours making this, so if I gave myself a pretty nice hourly wage of $15 per hour, the total comes to $180. Jeremiah and Belly are gonna have 30 guests, so that's gonna be $120 for the ingredient cost, the same amount for labor, making their total cost to make the cake $240. They're in a high cost of living area, so this bakery needs to stay afloat. So let's say they charge 100% markup. They're still walking away with a pretty good profit by listing it at $480. In order to charge $750, they would need to charge a markup of 213%. Jeremiah wants them to pay $25 a slice, bro? This better be the best cake I've ever tasted.
Already falling off. The coulis is the best part about this. That bright tartness, really good. I would like it more with like a lemon cake. I see why Jer wanted this. But let's get the sheet cake. It's gonna be way cheaper. It's gonna be like 80% as good.
Plus, sometimes in a relationship, you just have to compromise or settle, just like Belly is for you.